Hello and welcome everybody to Teamfight Talkshow. I am DoA. As always, with me is Frodan, and today a very special guest, the grand webcam reveal. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, the current #1 player in North America on the ladder. It is Guubums. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I'm doing good. I'm getting hyped. Got Challenger Series later in the day, so it's a busy day, busy week of TFT for me, but that's how I like it. Frodan, how you doing?
Doing well. Oh, I forgot to switch my back. This is my background normally for Twitch calls, so
I was gonna say it
if
fits your
we're-
hair and stuff, so it works. It works. It's coordinated, you know.
There you go. There you go. Now
there
I
you
switched
go.
to the spooky game board. It's going well. I think set five's going in the right direction. I'm really excited to talk about like kind of the meta, especially with Guubums who got rank 1 very recently. And it's much, and we also heard there's going to be no B patch this week, which is great because I think we've been talking about the show, or we've been talking on the show about how nice it is that TFT patches frequently, but it's been a little too frequent, I think. So we need to simmer down and let it bake a little bit. So I'm having fun.
Well, you know what? What we got to do first, get to know our guest, Guubums. Obviously, we mentioned you are #1 in the NA ladder right now, but for those who may not know, kind of give us a little bit of info about your gaming background. What other games have you played? What kind of led you to TFT and helped make you want to decide to go as hardcore as you have? What's your kind of competitive gaming history?
Okay, well, like I'm pretty young right now, but I've been playing like League since very, very early on. I think like since season one, and then I've been somewhat competitive like all throughout playing League, and then I started playing like some collegiate when I got into university, which was fairly recently. But once TFT came out, I was like, all right, fuck it, I want to play TFT because like this is kind of like a game that suits me. I played like a lot of Hearthstone, a lot of like those types of strategy games growing up as well, and then like one that kind of like is with League IP, so like that was pretty exciting for me. So getting the chance to play that, I played in set one, I played in set two. I didn't go too hard. I got like I think diamond, something along those lines. But then in set three, with COVID hitting, all of us have like a lot more time. What better than to play a bunch of video games? And I got challenger for the first time then, and I guess here I am now.
Nice, and it all just spiraled wildly out of control after that.
So fun.
You're pretty well known in the community for your amazing body and fitness status. Can you flex for the camera? Can you look at the camera, your webcam, and flex for the fans? Just one.
I'm pretty sure you guys do not want to see that anymore. I'm maybe almost 1.5 years removed from going to the gym. So hopefully when COVID dies
We
down,
all
I just
are,
got
yeah.
I just got my first vaccine a couple of days ago. So maybe a couple
Nice.
months from now, I'll give you guys, that
I know how you feel though. I mean, I had like an amazing body before COVID. Like my muscles were insane. Like my six pack was like the stuff of legends. I was like Leonidas from 300, man. Like it was without the beard. What sometimes with the blonde beard, but usually without the beard. Either way, it was great. And it fades away over COVID. You play a lot of games, you don't get to go to the gym. I know how you feel. Happens to all of us. Dan knows too. He's done the fitness thing from time to time, I think, as well.
No, I've never been in the gym in my life. Guubums, talk to me a little bit about just what it's like competing right now. I think a lot of people have a diverse set of opinions on, kind of how set 5 has been, or even just the competitive format, because some players are like losing motivation to continue to grind because, it feels like their snapshots places are either locked in or they're locked out from being able to qualify. So, how do you feel currently about, TFT and what keeps you motivated to keep playing and grinding as hard as you do?
Okay, like truth be told, I made the mistake on several weeks of not sitting. So I think like the fact that you really just only have to play 10 games, much like our esteemed Delicious Milk GG has been doing. You play 10 games a week, you sit, you get your top 5, top 10 ladder spot, and you're chilling for the rest of the like all your snapshots, and you're almost guaranteed like a regional spot, right? I think like I lament the fact that we actually have that because like I don't like any systems that encourage us not to play. Like I want everybody, all the top players to be playing as consistently as possible. Everybody like kind of pushing each other. Like I preferred if that was the case. What I do like is that this set is a lot more competitive than last set. So we have like a lot of the top players are playing. If you look at the top of the ladder right now, it's all really well-known names. I'm looking at the top 10 right now, and it's like you look at the top, I think like actually 15, and it's just like names of people that you expect to be at the top of the ladder, and I really, really like that. But just like it's more competitive in that sense. But just like looking at regionals, I'm going to be worried if people are going to be like some like deserving people are going to be like left out of regionals. I don't really want to see that, but at the same time, I felt like last regionals was a little bit too inclusive. So it felt like if you were playing ladder at all, like really, really seriously, you're almost going to like guarantee making it in. So I want to find that middle ground between this and that, and I also want to solve like, or I prefer if they kind of like solve the sitting problem. But I seem to be having fun, so I'll take it.
Too inclusive, interesting. Can you clarify that, and then we'll move on to the next topic because I know we're taking a while to get to the news, but I want you to
Okay, so
that.
last set in 4.5 regionals, like they let 32 people make it in. This set, for example, in comparison, they're letting 16. Like I think the nice middle ground would be like 24. Where like with 32, it felt like we had players who they deserve to make it in, but oftentimes like they would play at the beginning of the set for I don't know, maybe they played like 1 or 2 tournaments. I don't want to name names, but I'm pretty sure we all kind of well know. They played 1 or 2 tournaments, did really well there, and then they AFK'd the entire set 4, set 4.5. They played the last week going on to regionals, and boom, they're in. Like that, I feel like to me that's like a little bit too inclusive because once again, I don't really want like a competitive scene where you kind of get rewarded for just not playing any games, right? So I want everybody, like I want every top player to be like playing as much as possible. Obviously, Like people have work, people have school, people have streaming, people have their lives in their own way. But in terms of like purely competitive, I want the best players to be playing all the time, and that's what I mean by that, I guess.
I
Okay,
like it.
fair enough.
Guubums is a real competitor's competitor. I appreciate that. Yeah. But it is interesting looking at the top 10 of the ladder right now. You do see it, the top 10 of the ladder right now looks like a set 2 top 10 or something like that almost. Like it looks like a little bit more of an old school top 10 when you see the names that are up there. But you know, it's going to see what's going to be fun to see is how many people get through like the mid-set invitational, all that kind of good stuff. But let's move on to news. And we have some amazing news. It's the Skyglass Origins event. Oh, look. That's the saddest Pengu, man. I mean, whoever drew that Pengu really dug deep into like the depths of their soul to like they thought of like maybe when their dog was hit by a car or like some really sad moment because that Pengu looks like ultra sad. But the Skyglass Origins event, basically what it is you click on some windows and you get some poems. And eventually if you click on enough windows and get enough poems, you get a couple sprays and an egg. So there you go. But it is fun. It is a nice little way to add a little bit of lore to the TFT universe, I suppose, and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought what would be fun is if Guubums picks a trait, and I will read the poem for that trait right now. I've got it open. I've got everything unlocked. So Guubums, what trait would you like to hear the poem for?
I'll go with Dawnbringer since that's the one I'm playing the most of
Dawnbringer?
right now. Yeah.
All
Is
right.
that one of them?
Okay. So
Hopefully that's one of
here's Dawnbringer, right? When night has reached its darkest hour, they hear the harried cries, and from the din of hard-fought war, the Dawnbringers arise. From searing spell to twirling axe, there's no wound they can't mend, but armed with gear that grants HP, they're certain to ascend. There you go. And if you like poems like that,
Well
you can
done,
also do
DoA.
the Skyglass Origins event. Well, you know, they didn't ask
Are you
me to
sure
read
you-
those for them.
Are you sure you want to be a caster? You don't want to be a dramatic lore reader for Teamfight Tactics?
I could. You know, like years ago on my YouTube channel, I did like dramatic lore readings of League of Legends Champions lore because it was just so insane back then. And none of it made any sense. So they're on my YouTube channel. You can go find them. They're way back there somewhere. But I think I did like Elise in one, Aatrox one. But I've thought about it.
There you
I've
go.
thought about it.
If Riot releases an audiobook of anything Runeterra lore related, you should apply for it. I would listen.
I'm there.
It's a fun
Ultra
event. I
Slam
think
Go,
like
that's
you
right.
know this kind of stuff just so first of all, I want to say that the biggest buff in TFT that's needed is the client, right? You need to have more reasons to interact with TFT. Right
Sure.
now, there's only one thing that really matters in the league client for the TFT button, and that's hit the game mode, the change game mode option. It's if you want to play a normal, ranked, or hyper role. Literally everything else, like no one really touches a lot. So any excuse for us to kind of like start interacting more with the client is really positive for the player base because that's how they start inserting other things that's really relevant. So like let's say Guubums' stream, right? If they want to put like a featured streamer or a YouTube video, people like right now, all I know is that people don't have a reason to look at that. If they want to do, you know, cool things like promote in-game events or even like streams, right, of like the TFT championships. I just want more TFT players to get used to that. So I like that this is happening, even if you're not interested in like the lore, or it seems really silly that games like TFT even has a story mode for it. It's a really positive thing.
How much do you care about the lore, Guubums?
Oh,
What's your take on this?
TFT lore I'm not the most familiar with, but I did read some of the League lore back when I was pretty into League. I haven't played League all too much lately, but I mean, they give you free eggs, so anytime you can get free little legends, I guess it's worth it.
Definitely helps. But how important is lore to your competitive gaming? Just in general, not TFT lore in particular, but just in general, how much do you like to understand the game world in which you're playing?
Oh, like from a purely like fun side, I appreciate it, but I wouldn't say like I'm like a really lore junkie. I think like myself and I imagine a lot of other people are like this, is where like maybe they'll find days where they just kind of like dig into a rabbit hole and they just like the lore and they just read all of that, and then pretty much from there they get kind of like removed from it for however long, and then they wait for the game company to fix up however much of the lore they want. But yeah, that's kind of how I approach lore in video games.
I've always liked it. From a caster perspective, it just gives you more to talk about. So it's always fun to bring a little bit of it into it from time to time. Did that a lot back in the Summoner's Rift days. But let's move on. We also have the URF Dowsy, which has been released. URF mode is in my opinion, the best way to play League of Legends. So it's cool to see the Earth Love coming to TFT as well. Got the golden spatula. I've got a spatula around here somewhere, but I don't know where it went. No. Oh well. But yeah, more Little Legends. What's your Little Legend of choice right now, Guubums?
I've been using the Iridescent Daisy 3-star. I used to exclusively use either the normal penguin or the yellow penguin, the cheaper. But they kind of let me down early on in this. I lost a lot of LP using them, so I had to make the swap. And actually, Twitch Rivals was nice enough to gift me a lot of these Little Legends. So I've been using this 3-star Dowsy since since whenever they gave it to me, I guess. And
Wow.
you're right. I'm
Frodan,
rank
rich,
one,
getting
so
richer.
everybody make it. What do you make the change?
Frodan, is it true Little Legends affect your LP gain and loss? I agree with Guubums.
Yes.
I think it does. I think you need to swap around once in a while.
It has a non-zero impact to your LP gains. It is a fact because some Little Legends are better on carousel than others, and so I'm not going to reveal it because I don't give away the edge that I have. I need every single edge I can to make Challenger right now. Hard stuck at like 300 LP, so I just need a couple more hundred, and I think my Little Legend egg, if I can just get the 3-star version of it, will be lit.
I've been doing the 3-star lifeguard chunk. I don't know if it gives me any specific edge, but you know, I like that. I like the summer board. I've kind of rejected the reckoning sort of aesthetic a little bit, except for like behind me here. But in game, I like to keep it summery. But I agree. I do agree on the last streak. You gotta swap different Little Legend once in a while. Yeah. Let's talk about the patch. Let's talk about the 11.12 patch here, and it was a big one. This was another huge patch. It feels like every patch has been huge. It feels like this set in particular, we've gone through the most variety in meta within a set that we ever have, I feel like. But I feel like this one is in a pretty good spot. The focus is very much on vertical synergies right now. 6 Dawnbringers, 6 Forgotten, 6 Redeemed, all that kind of stuff. But there is room for some flexibility within that as well. So I want to get your take on this first. Guubums, obviously this patch has worked out very well for you. You've been able to maintain #1 the NA leaderboard. So it could be said that you understand this patch possibly better than everyone else. So what's your take on it right now?
My take on it is just the vertical synergies are probably a little bit on the stronger side. I'd say part of the reason why I excelled on this patch was because actually towards the end of last patch, for whatever reason, but I put it in my stream title too. I was forcing vertical Nightbringer or vertical Dawnbringer every single game until I figured something out. And I pretty much played 40 games on my main of either Nightbringer or Dawnbringer. And well, this patch we're seeing a lot of Dawnbringer, we're seeing a lot of Nightbringer. Something I did miss was Forgotten. So the previous time I was rank 1, it was actually done like I'd say 90% with Forgotten as well, 6 Forgotten. So I missed that early onto the patch, but towards the end of my climb, I was playing a lot of Forgotten too, which I think is a really good comp. And then especially with more spats coming in with the new armories, that's like a really, really big change, the way the armory got changed. Playing verticals is like really strong, so you'll see a lot of redeemed here and there. Maybe you'll even see some like legionnaires, some skirmishers here and there, but it just tends to be, from my perspective, a lot of vertical synergies doing really well.
Cool. What's your take on it, Frodan?
It's a big step up from the previous couple patches, in my opinion, largely because I thought the reroll emphasis for 2 costs was definitely making the game a lot more stale than it needed to be. I am a little bit sad that it feels like Riven 3 builds have fallen off the face of the planet unless you're just like Omega high rolling. Like, we should add the caveat because there's always going to be one person in the comments or in chats like, well, I got a first place with this build that you talked about that's no longer viable. It's like, yeah, in TFT, if you high roll enough, yeah, any build is viable. But I really love the idea that, you know, Yasuo and Riven have like this duality to them, right? Because they're like on the Dawnbringer and Nightbringer side, and they're like the 3-cost Legionnaire carriers of choice, and it's only really Yasuo that seems viable in that department. But outside of that, I'm pretty happy with the patch. I really like that Archangel / Archdemons feels more viable, that there's a couple builds that you can go. Some people like stacking Vladimir, some people are playing Warwick reroll. I think they're kind of memes, but you know, sometimes it's really effective for you to land like a good top 4, top 2. Yeah. Thresh is a monster now, just as like a 1-star. Like, if you're talking about item carriers for like your Varus or even your Draven whatnot, sometimes I just give Thresh the AD items and he whacks for like 1500 damage autos in one fight. I'm not sure like how much damage he's supposed to be doing, but it feels a little bit heavy-handed. but it's pretty dope to see like stage 2 carry Thresh. That's definitely one of the highlights of my patch that caught me by surprise. That Admirable, who you'll be casting Challenger Series with, this like highlight is like, bro, if you get 4 knights and you just have Thresh as your carry, it's actually pretty lit. And I was like, all right, we'll try it.
Well,
And
a
it's pretty
lot of the
good.
knights and the tankier heroes got some AD buffs, if I remember right, on the patch. But it's gonna be it's. I've always this entire set, man. I've thought like, is there a build where I can just like get Thresh to just like cast a lot and just blow people up, because he does do so much damage when he hits him with the chain that like I haven't played on I've kind of decided I'm not playing on an alt account this set. I'm just focusing on my main, just because of time reasons and things like that. But if I was playing on the alt account, I would definitely be spamming like Thresh carry games to try it out. Thresh carry, Syndra carry, because in any given set, there's always those builds that have not been discovered, right? There's always something out there that can be strong. Right now, I mean, in terms of things that I think might actually be stronger than people are really considering right now, is Syndra. I think there is room for Syndra carry, although things like redeemed late and all that can mess with it. But I think there might be something there. I don't know. Do you think I'll ask you this question, Guubums, kind of on the back of that. Outside of the vertical, what do you think is the best thing to play right now? The non-vertical synergy builds.
Okay, so I think something that's really, really slept on actually is A-bomb, because okay, honestly, I didn't even know Thresh
yeah,
got buffed,
A-bomb
and
is
some of
great
these
right now.
units were getting buffed. So like you guys telling me that, yeah, I think all the knights received an AD buff. But aside from that, yeah, so A-bomb received like a pretty hefty nerf, but so right now it hits like 2 units and then it stops moving, so it doesn't just explode your entire backline as soon as it comes out, right? And that was a pretty hefty nerf, and then it received a stat nerf on 4 and 5 A-bomb. But like I think A bomb is like extremely slept upon. I think if you just play A bomb, you play it similar to last patch. I don't think you can force it quite as hard as you could last patch. But if you get the A bomb spat really early on, you play 5 A bomb until the end of the game. You get your level 8, you get your level 9. You play your Teemo, Heimer,
Yeah.
Ivern, Volibear. Everybody kind of knows that kind of combo, and you're good to get a first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just kind of do the same thing now. You're
Yeah.
There's a
into
couple
it.
different A-bomb things out there right now. I won a game yesterday with 5 A-bomb, 4 Ironclad Draven carry. And then there's also Riven, of course. You can even play the old school Vel'Koz style. So I do think A-bomb is very underutilized right now. What are you going to say, Frodan?
Yeah, I would say that like flex traits in general got a massive buff this patch just because of the availability of the armory. Like that's nothing that's not being said on this little infographic that we just showed up for 11.12 patch notes, is that the armory changes makes emblems a lot more consistent. And that's something that I think we missed, just like to talk about Abomination, because we saw all the nerfs to Brand and obviously Abomination as a trait. But because Abomination is naturally pretty flexible with 3 all the way to 5, it's exactly as what you two described it. You can use A-bomb as just like an item holder. It can be like your temporary carry, and they can transfer items, or you can just stick 5 A-bomb plus like good legendaries, which is what Guubums has basically described, and also has been kind of slowly rising up some of the meta charts in terms of the data sites. So, and then, like 4 Ironclad is pretty obnoxious if you're able to get it and people don't have like a Last Whisper. Even if they do have Last Whisper, there's just like a lot for them to cut through. And of course, Mystics are just right now the flex trait because AP power at the moment. So, yeah, overall, I would say that if you enjoy playing like a lot more flexible with your traits and not necessarily just going vertical, like that's definitely the tree to lean into.
Yeah. It's good to stay open. When you get that early Abomination opening, it's like it's worth considering at least, for sure. Any other things stand out to you, Goobums, with set 5? Do you find yourself playing pretty flexibly right now, or do you find yourself sort of focusing on 1 or 2 synergies in particular?
Well, if you know anything about me, or if Chad knows anything about me, you'll know that like I tend not to be too much of a flex player. I do like I lean towards like 1 to 2-ish comps always, and then I just at some point in the game I commit. I'm like, hey, this comp is good. I'm hard forcing this comp, and it doesn't have to be like the meta S tier or S plus plus tier comps. It'll literally just be a comp that I want to play, and the way I do it is like I'll play it until I figure it out, and if there's nothing to be figured out, then I'll just stop playing it because it's not gonna work. But I really like hard forcing like a couple trees, and then I don't deviate too far from those trees, but I'll find a way to like get to those trees from like kind of weirder spots, or maybe even like get out of those trees on like a transition in some of the weirder spots as well.
All right, cool. Well, Frodan, Goobums, I think it's time to move on to another segment, everybody's favorite segment, of course. It's called Agree, and we've got 4 questions today. to agree or disagree with. Guubums, I think you know how this works at this point, so let's take a look at the first question here and see what we've got. The critical strike change has been positive and should stay for future sets. Agree?
Yeah, I agree with this. I think critical strike. Okay, so a huge thing with critical strike, like with multipliers, the way like DPS multiplies in the game is that critical strike was actually two multipliers in one. Because whenever you build critical strike, like IE, JG, Last Whisper, all this fun stuff, you get both crit chance and oftentimes you get crit damage as well. And something that like people don't realize that crit chance obviously multiplies with crit damage for more DPS. So like when you built vertically, like item wise or trait wise, and crit chance is that you were getting like a much bigger um sort of like damage boost than you could with other items, and that's why like kind of crit was taking over the game, and that's what they were trying to address with this change. I do think currently the crit strike change is leaving it a little bit on the weaker side for AD. I know some people might still disagree with me, but I do think like AD is still slightly on the weaker side. JG is not too bad, and I think like maybe like the numbers need a little bit of tuning, but I'm sure like or sorry, I think that directionally this is like a perfect change that like in the future crit won't be as like dominating, like such a dominant force in the meta.
Okay. How about you, Frodan? What do you think? Agree?
It's just the easiest agree. Like the numbers are way out of control in a lot of games. That like I think I play a lot of Hearthstone Battlegrounds, for example. Numbers are out of control there. Numbers are out of control in TFT, and largely it has to do with critical strike. Maybe we even get to make Vayne a reasonable unit, right? Because part of the reason why she just kept getting nerfed and nerfed is because like for 8, she just like what 30 or 48 here now. It's like so small. And that's partially because the scaling is just way out of way too powerful. And I think critical strike has needed to be changed for quite some time. So I'm really happy. Is it the right number right now? I'm not sure. But what it does allow us to do is gives us more levers to turn to buff champions to make it feel not as dependent, or rather item dependent, to get crit stuff. So I'm happy about it. And also, if you're a big fan of crit and you're like, oh, I love seeing big numbers, you can always just play assassins. They're still very good at critically striking and making me mad.
Yeah. Or build a crit build karma or something like that. She still puts up the big numbers. But
Yeah.
easy agree for me too. And the thing is I feel like I haven't noticed it that much, which is an even bigger reason for me to agree, because it just feels like the games are flowing very smoothly now. It feels like the damage is coming out more smoothly in rounds overall, but not in like a hugely noticeable degree. It's the right kind of change in that I feel like it didn't. I'm not looking at the game before and after this change in a totally different way. It's more like, okay, yeah, I see it, but it's not affecting me that much in terms of how I play. I still build IE, I still build Jewel Gauntlet. It's just a little bit more reasonable, the numbers that come out of it. Looks like chat agrees as well. 91%, not a big surprise there. I think we're all pretty happy with the change, and I would imagine it's gonna stay. Mortog, though, has an army of mathematicians, so I've heard, working around the clock to keep us safe.
If Mort's like, kind of, if that's about the fact that I said numbers are out of control, it's just that like sometimes it just snowballs to an outrageous number, and we all seen it before, where just like it gets too crazy too fast. But I digress. We're not here to debate every number about every champion, every trait.
Bring back Void. That's all I gotta say. That's
No,
bring back Void.
No.
Veto. We have it in the form of like Yasuo right now. He's basically like a Void champion.
That's just one champion though. Bring back my 3-star Void Cho'Gath.
Veto.
On the board. Oh.
I like the design of it. I miss Kassadin,
it hurts.
but not as a Void. I miss Kassadin, but not as a Void. As a Celestial Mana Reaver. Yes, I miss Kassadin.
All right, I'll settle for Yordle then. Let's move on to the second question. Second question for agree. NA has grown significantly weaker in Set 5 compared to the other regions. Good question, Guubums. Agree?
Okay, I'll say disagree as like a very quick answer, but like the truthful answer is honestly I don't know. I would say I think NA has gone stronger. I don't know how fast or how slow the other regions are kind of improving, but I'd say NA as a region has gone stronger because like a lot of the players like are returning. So we have like for example even Delicious Milk GG who's currently third on the ladder, grinding hard. It's because like our regional format is actually a lot more competitive this year, right? You have 10 spots going in through snapshots, 16 total. I kind of alluded to this earlier. It's actually like we might have some really, really good players not actually making it to our regionals. So the people who are trying to make it to regionals are sweating pretty hard. So I think like in terms of like our ladder, in terms of our top players, we're actually improving like fairly quickly. but I don't know how fast the other regions are improving. So my quick answer is disagree.
All right. Frodan, it's an inflammatory question. What do you think?
Man, the word that gets me hung up is significantly because so just for a little bit of peel back behind the scenes, a lot of top players are just kind of reporting that they're losing motivation. And that's not just in North America, right? It's also in Korea, where like Bebe says he's not really taking the game as seriously anymore. And EU, of course, had their esports struggles, which is like basically players saying like, I don't know if I can keep playing and grinding. So to say that like, just North America is struggling with these motivation is not true. That being said, it does feel like a lot of the NA players in particular are just like, they're either trying to play the minimum amount of games, like I'm just going to play my 10 game decay and that's it. Other people are just like, I'm just out until set 5.5. I don't really care anymore. It just seems like mentally as a region right now, maybe just because I'm exposed to it, right? Because I can speak English. I can't speak like French or Korean or these other regional dialects. But in North America, just listening to the conversations, it just feels like our mental is at an all-time low. Like I feel like all the top players, like that's not like Guubums right now because he's on our show and he's like talking about TFT. It just feels like it's kind of like going down. The stonk chart is just going dipping lower and lower. So I hope that we can recover our mental because I think when we're motivated, our technical play is still like definitely up there, like top 2 in the world. But right now it's pretty bad state. So I'm gonna have to agree with this at the moment.
Wow. All right. That's an agree from
Oh,
Frodan.
no.
A scathing rebuke of the NA scene from Frodan in his agreement. I want to agree with this just by virtue of I think Korea is going to win everything in TFT just like they win everything in other games. So just comparatively, we'll just say that. But we'll see. It is interesting the state of things right now, like Frodan mentioned, because and it looks like chat disagrees with this as well. But it's interesting because I feel like we've kind of reached the point where TFT has been around enough and people understand the game well enough that we kind of have come over the edge of that first big sort of period of discovery for the top players in the game, where the fundamentals for TFT are very figured out, I feel like, at this point. And there's always room for improvement, but for the most part, people know how to play TFT in like a good general way. And so then the discovery depends a lot on the set mechanics, right? And where set 4 was so good, like pretty much everybody besides Delicious Milk loved set 4. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. And so set 5 coming into it, the meta being very all over the place, the items being a little bit all over the place at times, I think hurt people a little bit. But overall, I get it. I get why there's a little bit of a lull. I'm not super concerned about it. And the significantly is a good thing to focus on there too. So I'm gonna disagree with this because while NA may have grown weaker and more and into a bit of a lull, I don't know if it's significant. So I'll disagree, but it's very, I might even put agree, disagree on there. You might want to give me both because I'm a little bit on the edge there. Yeah. Don't talk about show and kill.
I disagree with your disagree, but not necessarily because of your overarching point, but because a lot of people didn't enjoy set 4, but apparently, I mean, okay, here's the thing though. You go to like
set 4 is great.
The weekly rant threads, only by the nature of like I just know a lot of people who didn't like it as much, and they thought like they can set 5 a lot better. But
I met those people too.
Just want to say that it is just hilarious to me that in these rant threads that I see like on subreddits or in forums, etc., it's just like everyone who loved Chosen comes out of the woodwork and just talks about how like set 5 has made me appreciate Chosen so much more because like Ironclad is such a terrible trait. I hope they remove it because it's not good for flex players. And I'm just like, I don't understand. This is like naturally a flex trait, and Chosen. All right, I'm not here to rant about that and game design decisions, but just like if there's anything that tells me that like the general complaints and public sentiment does not understand like balance and game design, it's just reading their retroactive rose-tinted glasses about their commentary and post-mortem about set 4. It's just hilarious to me. That's all.
Hey, well, I supported set 4 from the very beginning, so I'm all for it. I've been firmly on one side of the Chosen debate from day one. But
for the record, I love Chosen
move
too.
on.
So.
You did or you didn't like it?
I did.
I didn't hear what you said. You did? Okay, yeah. Guubums likes Chosen. There you go. Let's go on to our third question here. Playing flex is overrated. This is a great question that we got Guubums on here for, I guess. Forcing comps requires equal amounts of skill. Agree?
Okay, so this is like, yeah, okay, I'll say agree, like straight up. Okay, playing flex is aside from best in slot, is one of the biggest buzz terms in all of TFT. Because everybody tells you, I don't know why, every single person tells you, like low elo, high elo. Okay, maybe not like the top elo players, they're like, you need to play flex, you need to play flex. The way people see flex in TFT is so differently, it's just so different from like how flex should be seen. So people say, I think playing flex is like the ability to play all these different types of comps, right? But like playing flex, like the value of playing flex in TFT has nothing to do with being able to play a bunch of different comps. In fact, if you know how to play TFT, if you're good at like you're a top level player, challenger player, GM player, it doesn't matter. You'll be able to play a bunch of different comps because you can assemble the units that you require to put into the comp. What playing flex is where playing flex is valuable is like the little like nuances inside like the comp you're playing or inside the spots you're given that you can like fit in an extra unit here or there. Like, oh, maybe like these two units work well with each other even though they don't necessarily have the best synergies. Or like given like the units given the units you're given within like a certain spot in a game, being able to find the best combination to use those units. Like that's an element of really good flex play. But like yeah, I don't think like playing flex the way people kind of see it is like definitely not what I like agree with. And then forcing comps requiring equal amounts of skill. I don't even know, but I was just kind of focused on that first part. The flex one is that one. As soon as I read that's kind of what I focused on. But so I agree.
All right, Frodan, agree or disagree?
It really kind of depends on what you define or like how you define words like skill in TFT because there's a lot of ways you can express skill, right? If you think people like to compare TFT to like card games, there's a lot of different win conditions in a card game, right? Obviously good technical play, but also like deck building and preparation and all stuff like that can also lead into it. So it depends on what you value as a skill expression moment in TFT. Playing flex is overrated. That's an agree for me, and that's a person that loves to play flex, and that's largely due to the fact that I'm a caster, so I need to know a bunch of different comps, but also because people just get enamored, right? Like as if there's some enlightened individual for being able to understand how to be able to put not a 2 trait, but a 3 trait of the same exact thing. Look at me, I'm so intelligent. There are just so many players who view flex in this light as if they're God's gift to teamfight tactics for being able to understand how to transition 2 units from one trait to another. That being said, is forcing comps require equal amounts of skill? That's definitely not the case. So, and every person who forces comps to challenger will tell you that because they can't hold on to challenger spots if that comp gets nerfed or if they have to play something else. So this is a disagree from me. Just an overall, but I think that we do need to like try to think a little bit more about what are some skills that are valuable because being able to so there's one thing that I can't do in TFT, no matter how hard I try, which is if everyone's contesting a comp that's really broken. Let's say like everybody is going for like a reroll Yasuo comp, but like you're so far in you can't reasonably pivot without like going for a hard bot 2. I don't know how to reliably beat other players at that, but there's players like Guubums and Kiyun who like thrive in that environment. They love the fact that they can like take that edge and one up other players in that kind of situation. And I think that takes a lot of skill because there's the least amount of variables in that case because you're playing with pretty much the same champions in a certain degree, and you only have a little bit of wiggle room. So that kind of situation, I think, is a very, very high amount of skill expression that I don't think gets appreciated enough in a game like TFT because everyone just tunnels on the fact that like everyone just plays like this one comp and is really strong.
Yeah. I think for me it has to be a disagree as well. And I've lived in both worlds where in set 4 I became more of a flex player and I still kind of tend to play that way now, but set 3 and before I just picked a comp and I just played it to death. Like set 3, Frodan knows I only played Star Guardian Sorks. I still talk about it all the time. I love that comp. And like being able to understand how to get into that comp and like make it work every single game, no matter what your start was really fun. Because you'd find a bunch of really weird, unorthodox stuff you could do in like the early game and mid game that you wouldn't see other players doing. And like you mentioned, if someone else is playing it in the lobby, you can, know how to beat what they're doing because they're just doing it worse than you. You know the little tricks you can do to kind of like beat them and assert dominance, as I like to call it, get them to pivot off of it. So I appreciate both. I do think playing Flex in sort of the traditional understanding of it, which is just having a broad understanding of the game, is overall more skillful slightly, but it's just a different type of skill, So it's hard to really say. So it's hard to really like nail it down. So that's why I disagree. It looks like chat disagrees as well. But I like our questions today. I feel like each question we've had today could be like a half-hour conversation in itself. This is fun. But let's take a look at our fourth one. Our final question here on Agree. This is the best patch, in parentheses, fun, skill testing, balanced of set 5 thus far. Guubums, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like the swiftest agree. Swiftest agree. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna
I
say I
think
was about to be very surprised.
no, yeah. I do quite like this patch. I think in terms of balance, it's probably the best we've had so far. I don't think like there's honestly that much to compare it to. I think some of the other patches we've had have been a little bit on the not so good side. In terms of fun and skill testing, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't played that many games on my main on this patch because like once I get rank 1, I'm just not gonna play anymore. But I do think like we're moving in a good direction. I think Mort Dog has explained how like there's gonna be less thrashing, so the next couple patches aren't gonna be like huge kind of like meta shifts in one way or another. And I think good. So as soon as the set kind of gets to this point where you're kind of like waning down, there's gonna be less and less changes. Like it seems to be good. Obviously, I'm rank 1, so I obviously appreciate this patch because I'm doing well on it as well. I might have a different
Yeah, I'd
opinion had I
imagine.
been doing worse. Yeah. But it seems like it's going in a good direction, so I'm happy with it.
All right. How about you, Frodan? Agree?
This patch has made me the least upset playing it. So yes. And I say
Uh-huh.
that I say that because I really wanted to like set 5 throughout the first few patches, and I think Mort summarized it really well. It's like we usually do land it on the same spot, but we just have too much thrashing to get to this point, like too much flip flopping of the meta. So definitely the best patch of set 5. As Sock says, by process of elimination.
Yeah,
But it's a
almost
good
done.
patch. It's a good patch because there's a lot of great moments in it. So what I'm really sad about is this idea that it took us a long time to get to this point. And as Grand Vice was saying, it's like we're in a good spot now, and then what's gonna happen in like when the mid set drops, right? 5.5, we have to
Yeah.
redo it all again. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I just really like the direction set 5's in at the moment. I hope it doesn't change too much.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with this one too. It feels like it has a good amount of flexibility. It doesn't feel like any one thing in particular is oppressively strong. Which I think that would have probably been my biggest complaint for all the other patches as far as there was always that one build, that was just seemed to be way better than everything else, and you had to just be annoyed by it or either play it. So I like that this does feel the most balanced. I've never been a big fan of big vertical synergy comps because I hate the feeling of being like one away from completing that when I really need to. I'm at the point in the game where I just need that one rise and you just won't show up. Like that makes me mad. That's why I didn't play much cybernetics back in set 3. So while I appreciate the patch, I personally don't prefer to play the game this way. But I will say I do think this is the best patch we've had in set 5 yet. So I think it's moving in a good direction. But yeah, like you said, Frodan, who knows what's going to happen when it changes again for mid set and all that. But that's one of the agony and the ecstasy things about TFT is I love the discovery. I love trying new things out, but the instability is irksome at some point. But at some points, but I think this one is the best patch we've had so far for sure. Yeah. Well, that was Agree. It's a great segment. We have a lot of fun with it. Frodan comes up with some awesome questions. Sometimes I come up with a couple of them too. I won't say who came up with what this week. Don't want to get anybody in trouble. But yeah, it's a fun one. Let's move on to talking about some esports. And the first thing we'll talk about is Challenger Series. So this was Challenger Series number 2, as the world's loudest motorcycle drives past my apartment. And Guubums had a pretty decent showing there. 4th place, not bad. So I want to ask you first, Guubums. You're playing again today. Here's how Series 2 went. What was it? What did you learn from this Challenger Series that you will apply to this one today?
Okay, so what I will say is that this Challenger Series is the biggest tragedy I know it says I look for. Sorry, it says I got fourth, but I assure you that's misleading. Like I definitely just got second. Because the thing is, the value of these games within the checkmate format are so backloaded. Okay, so Spencer got first in the last 2 games, and I got second in the last 2 games. Like I got fourth in points, but trust me, like the feeling is that I definitely got second, and I can't be convinced otherwise. Cause like whatever, you can go 8-8, and then if you go like win, then like you might have like you either go first or like depending on when they cut off the line, then you go like 8th, right? Like all the importance of the games are all backloaded, so you can do terribly in the first games, or you can do like excellent, and then as long as you do excellent on next games, like it doesn't matter. Whereas like if you go like 1-1-1-1-1, or sorry 1-1-1, and then 8-8-8, even though your point total is probably gonna end up in like 4th place. Well, realistically, you just went 8th because like the only chance of winning is if you go first on the last couple games, right? So
do you
But
not
you
like this
performed.
format
Wait,
then?
wait,
Okay, go ahead.
wait.
Go ahead.
Guubums, you performed better in the second half of the day here. So if you talk about the emphasis on backloading here, okay. So you're saying that wait, hold on. Before you do that, are you advocating for more spread out importance of games, or are you happy with that? I can't tell if you're actually approving or disapproving of the format. Before I continue.
yeah, honestly, I'm not sure. Just all I wanted to say was that it felt like I got a second and not a fourth.
All right.
I think this reflects
He
a lot of
weaseled his way out of
self-confidence.
that one. Okay.
This is a positive mental attitude that I appreciate about Guubums. You know, the stats say fourth. No, it's a second. And if you can carry that mentality forward, I think you'll go far in life.
I like it because if you're not first, you're last. If you're second or 8th, you're second. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good job, Guubums.
There you go.
And then as for today's, I won today's. I'm kind of surprised you guys went for the pre-recorded format. I think you guys are broadcasting that after this and then also tomorrow. So yeah, you guys will be able to see how I won today's and tomorrow's Challenger Series once that's broadcasted. And then I'll be at it
Right,
myself.
that's right. This is actually the winning interview, Guubums.
There you go. Yeah. It's good to know. Well, it's going to be fun. Either way, Admiral and I are going to be casting that one. You scared me for a second, Guubums.
Or Marcel, man. Can we talk about how Marcel started off godlike and I thought he was going to win the whole thing and then just went 8-8-8?
Yeah, see, you get baited.
Man.
As soon as he went for the 24 points.
Man. I remember casting this and like, you know, we talk about with the checkmate format that you need to take chances to get that first, right, to win it all. But like he was taking crazy chances every game. It's like once he got into that mentality where it's like I need a first, things just went way off the rails. So yeah, that's what happened there. But very good player, but just a little bit of trouble forcing firsts, if you can call it that, I guess. But yeah, props to Spencer though. 2 firsts in a row at the end of the day. He played like a boss too.
Nope.
Goobum shakes his head. He doesn't care. Just a lucker dog. Just high roll.
So preface that he is my friend, but so I can talk a little bit of trash to him. But dude,
sure.
He has 94 HP on 5-5. Nobody could kill his streak. Like I cannot win. What was that? I think I was like 20 something HP to his 94 in like a 1v1 or something like that. I was like 20 something his HP to like his 80 or something. And I had to win like 5 fights in a row to get the first. I won the first 3, I want to say, I believe. And then he put in 2 Volibear 2s with the full legendary board. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty fun. Yeah, I'm going.
Does help. The 2 Volibear 2s.
So Guubums got second in the last game, and that's why he feels like he deserves second place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or was that a 6? Oh, and that is an 8. Yeah.
The last 2 games were me versus Spencer. And then the second to last one was like Karma 3 versus Aphelios 3. That was pretty exciting. So at least that we have that, yeah.
And you're playing in Nightbringer this week as well, aren't you?
No, because after the Challenger Series thing, I got qualified for MSI, so I'm actually not allowed to.
Yeah.
No, I'm not allowed to even. Yeah. So they kicked me out now.
Obviously. Oh, I was looking forward to that. Oh, well. Well, just for the sake of theory crafting, if you did happen to be playing in both, they're kind of different formats. So how do you sort of like look at approaching that as far as let me backtrack a little bit. I'm just curious about your tournament prep in general. Do you do a lot of research on other players in your lobby? Do you try to play around other people's playstyles specifically, or do you just kind of say, I'm just going to treat it like ladder games. I'm just going to do the best I can, et cetera, et cetera. What's your approach?
Okay. The truthful answer is the thing is, I know a lot of the top players, right? Like both personally and just from playing like against them on ladder.
Sure.
Like I know most of their play styles. I know most of the comps they play, kind of like going into it. So in terms of like, do I do ladder research? The answer is like no. But the thing is like, and then you ask like, how would I prepare differently for a Challenger Series versus a Nightbringer? On the first day of Challenger Series, I just want to play my game, right?
Mhm.
And then whatever, if I make it through, then it's a little bit different. The thing with the Challenger Series Day 2 format is that like I said, I mentioned earlier how like the importance of the games are very backloaded. So you once again, you just play your game. First 3 games, I went what is this? This was like a 7-3-7, which is obviously pretty bad results. But then on the last couple of games, you just hard first rate that you make risky decisions because like quote unquote you have a 1 in 8 chance of winning the lobby, and all that matters that if you win or not. Like if you go second, it's the same as going eighth, right? So you make really risky decisions that nets you a higher chance of going first, and then you just play for first on your like as soon as you're qualified. And the thing is, the interesting thing is like even if you're not qualified and someone else is qualified, you kind of have to play almost for that first rate play style too, because you're trying to deny other people who have qualified, who are unchecked, from getting that coveted checkmate, obviously. So, and then as for Nightbringer, it's going to be kind of, I would say, similar to ladder. I'm playing against mostly ladder opponents, I think. Just like people, if I queued up in a solo queue game, I would see a lot of these players on ladder. So I'm going to be playing similar to how I would play on ladder, and then hopefully I just top 4 like almost every game. And then if you do that, you're good to kind of just make it into the final day, and you're good to make it top 2 most of the day as well.
True enough. All right. Anything to add,
Yeah.
Frodan, for that?
I'm just jealous that Guubums knows all the top players, hangs with the hottest dudes who wear the freshest clothes.
He knows them. They know him. He's got him on speed dial. On
You wouldn't say that to him
that.
at LAN. No, it's I'm excited for it, and I'm gonna be watching tonight. So go crush it, Doe.
I will.
All good
All right.
ones.
So EU qualifiers also. We got a bit of news about that. They've got their tournament going. I believe it's going. When was it? Yeah, it's been going for a little while. We're in the latter stage at least, but a little bit more money for EU across the board. You can see the breakdown right now. I know. We're talking about EU, yeah, but EU, right? Slowly but surely we're taking baby steps in the region on the esports side. I guess we're kind of getting there. I don't know. I only really pay attention to NA and sometimes Korea, but what do you think, Frodan?
I kind of want to just lay it out. I just wish that the Riot EU esports team loved the community the way that they loves TFT back. You know what I mean? Like I think the way I feel like the EU community is just like they're so dedicated, they're so hardcore. They organize their own events, they regionalize their own competition. They, do all this really fun stuff to activate for it. And it feels like what they get is fewer spots and fewer chances and less time and less communication than everybody else. And they perform so well every single world championship so far. And it just feels like what it is that there's some conspiracy that EU is doing too well and we need to equalize the field. That's like the only it's not the explanation, but that's what if someone told me like, oh, that's actually what's going on, I'd be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, because like a lot of these decisions and details do not make sense. That being said, I will say that I'm very grateful that the Riot esports team, the EU representatives, did come into some of these discords, listen to the feedback, and there was some. Let me tell you, if you were disappointed with Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul, y'all should be so lucky to one day read the conversation with Gunmay and Fluffy versus the Riot esports team. I mean, that was some heavy blows and punches being thrown. No words were minced whatsoever. They were just saying some really inflammatory and rough things, and they handled it really well because, understandably, the EU players are very upset and frustrated. And the Riot team, they're not going to pretend like they didn't mess up with that. So they owned up to it. They improved some details. But I will say for set 6, like, I don't think any more apologies is going to be accepted, period. I think we got to get it right for set 6, okay? Like set 3 was complete pass because it was just like our first attempt. Set 4, I mean, we gave a bunch of feedback and we want to see the changes. And set 5 was not exactly the changes that we looked for whatsoever. But set 6, trust. We got this.
There you go. All right. Well, anything to add? Any opinions on the EU esports region, Guubums?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it just looks like a joke. Like, you know how I mentioned, like, I don't like it when, like, the system or like something encourages players not to play. I don't think there's any system that encourages players not to play harder than the EU players, or sorry, the EU system encouraged the EU players not to play. So, like, they're literally AFK the entire set up until like I think last week, and then like some of the players obviously have to catch up some 1,000 LP, get back up on the ladder to get their chance at the regionals. And I mean, the scary part to me is the fact that like they're not even told, right? Like it's like a surprise. It's like, surprise, you guys have regionals, enjoy. And like you give them like a couple weeks leading up to it, maybe that's a little bit better. Or like give them like, oh, you guys should probably start trying at this week. But it's like, nah, it's actually just like a surprise. Enjoy. And
Maybe
yeah,
we
that's
just
not it.
let the NA team take over EU. I mean, I know they're busy. I know they've got a ton of work, but like,
GiantSlayer TV.
yeah, maybe just
Okay,
let
so-
GiantSlayer take over EU too. Why not?
I mean, it sounds very campy because we're on Teamfight Talk Show hosted by GiantSlayer TFT.
No
But
bias. No bias
the
here.
reality is there isn't an organizer like that Riot can go to that will be willing to do that. There could be a multitude of reasons as to why that is, but if there's anybody listening out there that happens to be running either grassroots organizations or just you are a third-party organizer for TFT or for other events and you like TFT, like there's a golden opportunity to seize that because they are desperately in need for something like that. EU has its own set of
Well-
challenges. There's like regional barriers, there's languages, there's all these different things that are very tricky. But I really hope that EU can find their equivalent of GiantSlayer because every other major region feels like they have their organizers already set. Like LATAM does their own thing. Korea, of course, very well storied for how they organize events, and it's a lot easier for them because they're a smaller country with PC bongs. And China has their own operating partners. I don't even know what's really happening over in EU.
It is tough sometimes, and we're sort of starting this is more of a broader esports topic now, but like we're starting to turn a little bit of a corner where we're coming out of the dark ages where the developers are trying to control every single aspect of their esport with an iron fist. And when I say dark ages, I mean the darkest of dark ages, because developers are generally not very good at it. And you need those third-party TOs to kind of be more in tune with what the community wants, what the players want, to be able to move a little bit more agilely to do it. And EU suffered from the same thing, right? Where you had a lot of good orgs like O Gaming and things like that that would put on a lot of good events. But this is across all esports, not just Riot, where the developers tended to bring a lot of stuff in-house, and make it harder for those TOs to operate and survive. So it's not surprising to see regions struggle. It happens to be EU at the moment, but hopefully things will change overall. But let's move on to everybody's favorite segment. It's the NA player tier list. Guubums, are you ready? You've been waiting and waiting, and it's finally time. It's finally time to make the tier list.
The real segment everybody's looking for.
That's right. Everybody's true favorite segment, yeah.
Or should I just get into it, or yeah?
Get into it. Yeah.
Right.
Anywhere on the
We're
list.
ready.
You can start from the top, you can start from the bottom. It's your list. You can do it as you choose.
All right, number one. I'll just start.
People have been known to do that from time to time. Once in a while.
Okay. Okay. We'll start from the top. I'll just put New Ball there. Get that out of the way. I think that one's pretty easy. Most people on NA, I'd say, agree. He's taking like a small, like couple day hiatus. He'll probably be back, but hopefully when he's back, he doesn't steal rank 1 from me. But if he does, I suppose I'll try to get that back. Number 2 and 3, I have Sox and Kian. So these are kind of like those more the old guard players. They've been good at it for a really long time. I've had like a lot of respect. I thought Kyun was the best for the majority of set 4 as well, and same with Sox. And then I think New Ball might have taken them over sometime early set 5, or sorry, early set 4.5. But they've just been consistent for like super long. They're doing well in set 4 now. I think Sox is like struggling maybe a little bit early on in the set, but for the most part, yeah, I think these 3 are a little bit of a cut above. I'd say New Ball's probably slightly better than the other 2 as well. But then yeah, and then I put 4th, 5th, and 6th. I actually had the trouble with the order with this, but since I'm on the show, I'll put myself 4th. I recall I think it was Frodan who mentioned last week or last time the show was on that it was the first time I got to I made it on any list, which I kind of agree, right? For the longest time, I didn't actually put myself in the top 10 of NA. So it's nice that like when I'm on the list, at least I can put myself on the top 10. That feels pretty good. And then 5 and 6, I have Pocky and Setsuko. Initially I had Setsuko like higher, but I think he's been struggling for the past like 3-4 weeks ish. But he's really good. So Setsuko's like one of the first players I actually got to talk to, like first of the really high elo players I got to talk to in TFT. And like I've watched him play, I've watched him do a lot of fun stuff, and he's almost consistently always at the top of the ladder. He's always making like really good plays. And then as for Pocky, I think like I mean you guys know about all the assassin one tricks going around and in the set. But I think Pocky was actually like a much better assassin player than any of those guys. Consistently higher on the ladder. He wasn't like a true one trick, but he played a lot of assassins. He leaned towards assassins, and it seemed like he knew his assassin outs a lot better than like almost any other player did. I personally didn't ever play assassins, but I recommended anyone who wanted to learn assassins should learn it from Pocky because he was streaming. He obviously won the first GiantSlayer series. Very very consistently top 5. I don't think I've ever seen him drop out of like maybe even like rank 12. And then as for like, I think of the most consistent players, like these are kind of it. I personally haven't dropped out of rank 15. I haven't been lower than rank 15 at any point this set. Same with I think Nubal dropped as low as like 20, but most of the time he's just rank 1, stuff like that. Kiyun hasn't really dropped out of rank 15 either. And then the next ones I'd say are like a little bit below right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if like they kind of pass us up or pass anyone above up because like truth be told, like TFT like at the top level in TFT, like all the margins are really small. So like you might say one player is better, someone else might say another player is better, but realistically it's pretty fucking close. Oh sorry. Next
right.
up I have Kurum. Max.
Hands up.
Yeah, hands up. He okay, so I think he struggled with set 4 because okay, keep in mind that a lot of this is going to be from like it's an opinion formed primarily from like set 4, right? Because I've only really started playing and started like watching seriously starting from set 4. So I think Kerm struggled really hard in early set 4, and I know he was like a really really great player set 3 and before, but like so my opinion of him at the time wasn't actually as high. But in set 4.5, not only did he like pop off on ladder, but of course he won NA regionals. That was really sick. I actually think he had a really good performance on the first day of Worlds. Obviously, unfortunately, NA, as we always do, on the next day, next week, we seem to be doing a little bit worse. I don't know what it is, but he did, obviously drop out there. But I think he had a really, really good showing towards the end of last set. I think he popped off on set 5 really early on, very consistently top 15 again. Hasn't yet, I think, broken into like the top 5 all too often, but I think like just a little bit, he's almost there, and I'm sure like with the snapshots coming up, he's gonna be grinding for that. Next I have GV8, quite similar. Pretty much been strong. Like I had him higher in previous sets, but I think in this set he's been struggling a little bit as well. I see him like fluctuate. I haven't seen that many players fluctuate this much, but GV8 fluctuates from like I swear at one point in the week I'll see him at rank 2, rank 3, and then at another point in the week I'll see him like down at rank 20. But like always he ends up in the top 10, and I think that's pretty impressive. So I think like he's been strong for really long. I think he's one of the premier like so-called flex players in NA. So if you really want to learn how to play like a bunch of different comps, GV8 is kind of your go-to. And then the last 3 I have it split between Spencer, Bertosaurus and Robin. I think I have Spencer at 9, and then the 10 spot is kind of like where I struggled. Oh, as a disclaimer, I did not put Delicious Milk GG because not only did he not play it like almost at all in set 4 and set 4.5, but even now he just pretty much doesn't play. But I'm sure like if he really gets into it, you have to put him somewhere on the list, right? Probably even higher than me. If I've had to guess, I'd put him at 4 and then I'd push everyone down 1. But yeah, and then I put Bertosaurus yesterday, but then last night I'm pretty sure he just lost like 200 LP, and I talked to him a little bit, and it didn't seem so good. So maybe we'll put up Bertosaurus / Robin. I don't know which one you guys want to go with, but I struggled which
Robin
one.
hit number 1 like last week, so I think it's fair to say that Robin generally is doing better than Bird on ladder.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think some of it is I talk to Nubal, very often. I talk to like very often as in like I'm genuinely friends with them. Like we don't have to talk about TFT, right? To just
as opposed to other people
about everything.
You're not.
Like I mean, like I haven't had the opportunity to talk with everyone about like about life, about all this fun stuff, but mostly primarily TFT talk.
Things. what animes you're watching.
But Bertosaurus, Spencer, Nubel, Setsuko, like I've had the opportunity to just talk about them and like watch their game. Like maybe not so critically. Obviously, people stream and you can watch the game there, but like you play a lot differently on stream versus off stream. So like I give a little bit of I have a little bit of bias there where like I've watched Bertosaurus a lot more than perhaps like your average top player or average random player or average stream watcher will have watched Bertosaurus. So I'm giving him a little bit of credit there. But I do think, yeah, Robin should be credited. I mean, he recently hit rank 1. That was really impressive. And he's currently, like, I think, like top 5 somewhere. I don't know. But he's definitely high up on the ladder. So I struggle with that number 10 spot a little bit. There are some notable names off of it, but it's a 10-player list. And what can you do? It
only includes so much. You're always going to disappoint somebody. Yep. Don't be afraid.
Chat wanted to know, Guubums, is this 4th place on the tier list really a 2nd place?
No, this one's a 4th place. This one's a 4th place.
Sometimes it's just a 4th, Guubums, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, Guubums. Sometimes it's just a 4th.
Top 4 is top 4.
Yeah, we'll take a top 4. We'll take a top 4.
Yeah, we like top 4s. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing to be ashamed of. It's fine. It's a fine tier list, too, I think. It's a tier list that no one could ever agree or disagree with in any sense ever. It's basically perfect. Let's move on to.
I do want to say.
Yeah.
GV8 has been like kind of forfunning it for a while, even though he's still like top 10, and he's also like a caster now because he's going to be casting the Nightbringer Cup, and so TFT casters making the top 10 tier list. Let's go.
So that means you'll be on the next
Esports
one.
Esports law.
Yeah, but like if he really starts casting, he's gonna drop fast. Like that's just how it goes. You doom your player career if you decide to commit to casting. Just warning you right now, GVA.
Yeah, sure.
What do you value more? Think about it.
Dan, you got to prove them wrong. Dan, you guys got to get up on the tier list, up on the ladder. Start proving that theory wrong.
Yeah. Apparently, someone said that GV8 was like when he was like covering he was like co-streaming the tournament stuff. That he's just like, the casters don't know what they're talking about, or the casters are crap. So I'm looking forward to see what GV8's got. He's got a lot of personality. I love it. I wonder if he can kind of bring that same type of energy and flair, or is he just going to be like all professional and tidied up and shaven? I'll see. I'll see what version of GV8 shows up for the Nightbringer Cup. I kind of want
one of my favorite streamers
Unleashed
for a long time. He's been one of my favorite streamers. I love the morning meta report and all that. But you're in my world now. So get ready.
Right.
That's right. Well, it's going to be a fun time this weekend either way. It's going to be great. Let's move on to some mailbag stuff because we've got some good questions. I've been excited about the mailbag. We have one from Firestorm here. What is the one best thing a player can do beforehand to get the most out of a coaching session? You do a lot of coaching, so let us know.
Okay. Oh yeah. Actually, I quite like this question. Okay. First and foremost, I think just it's your engagement with it, right? A lot of people enter, and this is with like class, right? Like imagine going to class. You go to class, and if you're not engaged with class, like the reality of the situation is that you're not going to get the most out of it, right? So if you're engaged with it, like I don't know, maybe you want to take notes, maybe you want to record our coaching session. I for the most part would ask that people who do coaching with me specifically would ask or let me know beforehand if they want to record it. But yeah, maybe you want to record the coaching session and you want to maybe I said something that was interesting, but you don't know like a spot specifically where you could see that. You can record it and then maybe you watch it back later, or you want to take notes. Like all this fun stuff can really kind of like push the coaching session forward. And a lot of it is like, so when you record it and you get to rewatch it again, maybe you get the coaching session, you play a bunch of games. I don't know whether you do poorly or well. Oftentimes you tend to do well because I'm a good coach. But say after that, like you want to learn something or you want to like revisit a point that I talked about, being able to rewatch that and like reinforce a certain concept I taught you, like that's super, super important. Yeah, and ask me a lot of questions. It doesn't have to be even, okay, so I like to do VOD review. And oftentimes that means like I'm looking at a spot in the game and I'll talk to you about the spot. But if you have a question outside of like what I'm talking about to you in this spot or in this game, then you should ask that, right? Because I'll like pretty much there's no better time to ask it when I'm like fully engaged with you, when I'm like talking to you one-on-one. You can ask me about all sorts of fun different things and I'll probably answer all of them.
So stay on task. Oh, I should mention too. Speaking of staying on task, I forgot to mention Guubums will be picking a question from chat to also give an award to, which is $10 over PayPal, I believe it is. So you can spend that little legend eggs, I would imagine, is what it's going to end up on. Certainly nothing else. But Guubums, keep an eye on chat as well to think about grabbing a question later on. I should mention that. Sorry to cut you off, Frodan. Go ahead.
No, it's good to remind people that we're literally giving out free money. So all you have to do is just ask Guubums a question, or I don't know, maybe split it with him 50-50.
Yeah.
DM Guubums and have him pick your question for $5, and then there we go.
Brilliant. Right.
Guubums, I have a follow-up question to this. Who has been your best student that's a prominent member of the community? 'Cause you've coached a lot of people, but you've also coached, or you coach a lot of players who are like, kind of still like trying to learn the game, but you've also coached some high-level challenger players. So out of like all the prominent people in the community, who's been the best student?
Okay, oh God, I don't even want to say this in case he's watching. Hopefully he's not, but it's gonna be DQA, right? I met I first talked to DQA at the end of set 4, and at the end of set 4 is probably like when I would start to say like I'm kind of like pushing that like a really good player status. I don't think I was quite there yet, but I was kind of like getting there. I was high up on the ladder, and I was doing really well with Ari comp. So a lot of players probably know me as like an Ari. Like back then, I released the Ari grad as well, but I did like a lot of stuff with Ari. And so I taught DQ how to play Ari, and then later on with Nubal, and this is pretty much when we started to meet, like everybody kind of just started to meet each other. I met DQA and Nubal then, and me and Nubal kind of worked with DQA to learn Ashe. But it wasn't like about playing the comp, it was about like playing the game like on a more fundamental level. And this is partially the reason why I actually like think of Nubal so highly. It's not because of like how he plays the game or like what he does in certain spots, it's about how he thinks about the game, right? And like being able to explain like certain spots to like DQA, and him being able to just like absorb all of that. Like DQA is an excellent learner. Like when you tell him something, like he'll actually like think about it. He'll actually like take it to heart. He'll like apply it to like how he plays the game, like how he thinks about the game, and like that's really good. And like I'm not gonna take credit for it because like he's an excellent player in his own right, but he did really well in 4.5, and he'll like if you ask him, he'll tell you, oh, like the work he did with me, the work he did with Nubal at the end of set 4 really helped him get there. And one more thing about the questions thing is that try not to ask like specific questions. And what specific questions will be like, all right, I have XYZ champion on this stage. What the fuck do I, or sorry, what do I slam in this spot? It's like, well, honestly, I don't know your spot. I don't know what other people are playing. I don't know how much HP you have. I don't know how much gold you have, all that fun stuff. I won't be able to answer your specific questions, but like generalized questions, you really want to like, the like conceptual questions, those are really important. Yeah, sorry.
Right, makes sense.
Get carried, DQA. That's what from Guubums. Get carried. All right.
I love that about the TFT scene though, is that in other esports you see this a lot too, where top pros will advise and coach other pros, but you don't really hear them talk about it very much. Where in TFT you hear people talking about it all the time. You see it on stream and all that, and so it's neat to sort of see that be like out in front of the fans, out in front of people to watch. For one of the first times I think I've seen in esports over the years. So I like that a lot about the TFT scene. That's out there. But Guubums, it's time for you to pick a chat question. What do you who do you want to give the award to? And try not to pick anyone prominent from the TFT scene. Yeah. They're already making those Twitch bucks and everything. They don't need it. So try to pick a fan. Pick a fan.
Okay, I gotta, because most of the questions coming in are like straight up troll questions from like friends and like you said, prominent members, so I have to filter through it. Wait, is there like another place to pick them through? Like on a Discord or something? I think someone might have mentioned that.
We may have a doc. Yeah. I don't know if you have access to this, but
like these questions are so pointless. Most of them.
Oh, here we go. There's one in Discord. There's some in Discord.
Yep. There's some meaningful ones.
Oh, okay. I like one, but I'll look at the Discord questions as well.
Let's check out our other giveaway winner before we get there. Yep. Yeah. It is Firestorm, the person we just
congratulations.
I think that's a DC superhero, but I don't know. Does anyone know who the DC superheroes are besides Batman and Superman? And Aquaman? Anyone in the movies?
Wonder Woman?
Aquaman? There's one. It's not in the movies that I know of. Wonder Woman's got movies, Frodan. They aren't good. But they're out there. Have you made your decision, Guubums?
Yeah. I like this question that Hamzy TV asked. He says,
All right.
when do you prioritize support items over carry items?
Okay, cool.
Okay, so yeah, items in TFT is like something I actually really like talking about and thinking about. So like the way carry items work, or like the way items tend to work in general, is you really want to concentrate your items on like a couple of units because the way they work is they multiply, right? When you have like a death blade on a unit, you really want to add another item on top of that and not just leave, oh, you have this death blade and you have damage, you're good to go. No. So you want a death blade, and then like for example, another synergy item would be any attack speed item. Maybe a hurricane is really good, maybe an IE because once again crit scales with AD and so forth and so on. So okay, so you build your death blade and you really want to get your second carry item online. So you want to get like two carry items, especially if you have an early item holder, say like a Varus. So like a Varus is like a premier item holder, so you really want to get like a 3 item Varus really early on. And then this becomes less true once you have like three of like a carry item. Once you get carry items, your next carry item becomes significantly weaker than your next support item. And I'm gonna be honest, I stole some of this from New Ball, so credits to him. Your next support item, the difference between your next support item to your next carry item is massive. So you really want your next item to be a support item. But then with all this in mind, you have to like, because you're only really given components. You're very seldomly given full items in TFT. So you have to like look at your components and see like maybe you build a Warmogs with your belted belt, and then that leaves you with like a chain, and then that's like you can't really build another carry item from there. So we have to like, okay, so what do your remaining components build into? Like, how do you fit your current items that you've built with the remaining components you have, and like how do you go from there? So to answer your question, how do you choose between support items and carry items? You have to make the best combination of like items. So you can't make a death blade and a death cap most of the time in TF. Like there are some exceptions, but you can't really make a death cap and a death blade and have them on the same unit as a carry item, right? Or as a carry combination. So you have to like kind of think about like how do your current components point you in one direction, and how can you make the best of those items, and yeah, and then go by the concepts I kind of outlined at the beginning as well. Hopefully that was helpful, but I kind of, anyways.
No, that was a good description. And this has all been recorded. You can go back on the Twitch VOD and watch it later. You out there, if you want to go and review the lesson that Guubums just gave us on items, there you go. But congrats to Hamzy TV, I believe. Yeah, there you go. Cool. Congrats on the giveaway winner. You've been selected. Guubums has descended down from on high to gift you an award. So there you go. And Firestorm as well are the question winner. That's going to bring us pretty much to the end of the show. There's been a lot of interesting stuff talked about in this show. Remember, at 4 p.m. today, Challenger Series. Guubums will be playing in it. And then on the 20th of June, that's Sunday at 4 p.m., we have the Nightbringer Cup Finals. And that's going to be a ton of fun as well. Guubums may or may not be in that. Who knows, right? But it's time for some closing thoughts here. Guubums, closing thoughts before we close it out. Shout outs, anything you want to say?
Yeah, first and foremost, I actually want to give a shout out to Mortdog. So in the past like week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I've had the opportunity to talk to Mortdog about like game design, game balancing, like how the design team approaches the game. And I know Mortdog gets a lot of scrutiny from like a lot of people who I want to say don't really know what they're doing, but they tend to be more passionate, right? Or else you wouldn't really kind of like go out of your way to grief the game designer. But I think Mortdog does a really good job actually, and you can kind of like see his importance to the TFT like ecosystem because he went on vacation for a week, and I think that week was largely considered, or widely considered rather, the worst patch of Set 5 TFT. It was the skirms patch. We had skirms for 2 weeks. Everybody's just playing this everybody's hard forcing skirms or Draven, and we're just sitting there. We're like, where's Mortdog? And then the thing is, they pushed the patch without Mortdog around, and then we got that very fun 40% at level 6 patch. That also wasn't so good. Mortdog immediately comes back, Mortdog comes back, and then we immediately get like this current patch, which is like considered one of the better patches of the set, right? I think all three of us agreed that it was, if not the best, then definitely the least bad. I don't know if, I mean, those are synonyms, but yeah. So shout out to Mortdog for that. I don't always agree with everything he says, but once you actually like listen to how Mortdog explains like his thought process on the game, even if you don't agree with him, it's like important to see like how the game designer the lead game designer actually thinks about the game. And even even if you don't don't agree with him, like I think he reaches his conclusions fairly, like I would say fairly, right? So yeah, shout out to Mortdog. Shout out to a lot of my friends in the TFT community. I think the TFT community has been growing, and I think like all the prominent members are actually really nice, and I've had the opportunity to kind of like go out and talk to them. Obviously, I met you two decent while back, and we kind of got along playing TFT, and a lot of like just like similar interests with TFT and all these video games and fun stuff. So shout out to you guys, shout out to everyone else in the TFT community that I've met. And shout out to anyone, all my viewers, all my fans that have started watching me lately because I've been streaming. And yeah, I think that sums it up for me. Oh, and watch the pre-recorded Challenger Series tonight and tomorrow. You guys will watch me win. Maybe not tonight because you don't need to. You just need to win tomorrow.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Sorry. Yeah, and I'll probably be streaming for the people in chat who are asking today.
It'll be fun. Streaming your pre-recorded POV, of course, right?
Yeah. I don't know. You guys chose a really weird format this time. Not only do you have it pre-recorded on your channel, but you actually have every streamer who's participating pre-recording and releasing it on their channel. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
GiantSlayer's hardcore. They go all out for the pre-record. Frodan, final thoughts.
I don't know. Guubums like shout out everybody on the planet. He just he just thanked everybody that is currently alive. So I guess I'll shout out to people who have yet to be born, and will play TFT in the future. And that I think together Guubums and I have covered literally every possibility. So
shout out to our ancestors. I can't wait till time travel's invented and I can go back and show TFT to the Vikings sailing the ocean that will someday create the family line that will give birth to me. Not the Minnesota Vikings, the actual Scandinavian Vikings, and the Northern Germans as well. They're part of it. We're gonna show them TFT on mobile. It's gonna be great. They're gonna be confused. We're gonna have a good time, but I'm sure they have a lot to contribute. So there we go. Now we've truly shouted out everyone and aliens. If they're out there, they probably like TFT as well. Could be everything. Supernatural beings could include those too. Metaphysical, fourth dimensional. I don't know. We could go on for days, but
someone stop DoA.
We have to stop the show. I gotta get ready for Challenger Series. It's been a great show. Guubums, thanks for being an amazing guest. It's been a ton of fun. Frodan, you are a great host as always. Fun to co-host this show with you. 4 p.m. today, Challenger Series is gonna be great. Then Sunday, Nightbringer Cup, gonna be great as well. Until then, play some TFT. Thanks for watching. Thanks to GiantSlayer for putting this on as always, and we'll see you next time.